This is WFYI News Now. It's January 9th, and I'm Abriana Herron. On today's show, nearly $150 million from the federal government will help drive the construction of Indy's third bus rapid transit line. The state moves its speed cameras to a new highway work site as it continues to refine the system. And a new effort in Indianapolis combines police and other first responders to address mental health calls throughout the city.
We will continue moving in this direction, that our officers do not want to respond to these calls if we are not needed.
Those stories coming up, but first. The Indianapolis Public Schools Board says it will fight against a bill that, if passed, would dissolve the district. The legislation, introduced by state Republican lawmakers, would eliminate local school boards. IPS parent Kristen Fair spoke at Tuesday night's board meeting, urging commissioners to oppose the bill.
And there's a concerted effort nationally to dismantle our public education system. And House Bill 1136 is just one example of it. So it makes me emotional because I care about all the kids in this district.
The bill, House Bill 1136, would also convert schools in IPS and 4 other districts across the state to charter status. In total, 68 schools in the state would be turned to charters if the bill is passed. Federal funding for IndyGo's Blue Line is coming to Indianapolis. WFYI's Jill Sheridan reports that nearly $150 million will help drive the construction of Indy's third bus rapid transit line.
After years of planning and pushback, the Blue Line was awarded a federal grant that will cover about 40% of the cost for the new route. For the past few years, state legislators have debated numerous bills that could have impacted federal funding for the line. A major draw of the bus rapid transit routes is the new infrastructure it creates. Miles of repaved roads, new sidewalks, crosswalks, and stations will be built. The Blue Line project will create more frequent service and use a dedicated lane to provide service from Cumberland to Indianapolis International Airport. The Blue Line will be the city's third bus rapid transit project. The Red Line opened in 2019 and the Purple Line launched last fall. Construction is scheduled to start this year. I'm Jill Sheridan.
The Indiana Department of Transportation is shifting its speed cameras to a new highway work site as it continues to refine the system. Indiana Public Broadcasting's Brandon Smith reports on initial results of the program and its next steps.
INDOT first launched its speed camera pilot program on Interstate 70, just east of Indianapolis, in August last year. The legislature authorized the program for use in up to 4 highway construction sites statewide. Work in the initial site is finished, so INDOT is moving the cameras to the Interstates 465 and 69 interchange on the northeast side of Indianapolis. As the agency continues to refine its process, the cameras will be in what's called a pre-enforcement period, meaning drivers caught speeding will only receive warnings for at least the first 30 days the cameras are active. Warnings, and once enforcement begins, tickets, are only sent to drivers recorded going at least 11 miles per hour above the speed limit. In the initial construction site, INDOT recorded a reduction in average speed of up to 6 miles per hour. For Indiana Public Broadcasting, I'm Brandon Smith at the Statehouse.
And for our final story today, Indianapolis Mayor and the Chief of Police announced the start of the city's new Unified Mental Health Response Initiative, which combines police and other first responders like the fire department and EMS to address mental health calls throughout Indianapolis. WFYI's investigative reporter, Farah Anderson, has more.
The city launched a program called the Clinician-Led Community Response Team in 2023. It sends licensed clinicians to respond to mental health calls, but only in certain areas. Now, this new initiative is designed to cover all of Indianapolis and cut down on police involvement in mental health crises. Here's how it works. If the Mobile Crisis Assistance Team, or MCAT, and the Clinician-Led Community Response Team aren't available, this new response team steps in. Indianapolis Metropolitan Police Department Chief Chris Bailey says officers know they're not always the right people to handle these calls.
We will continue moving in this direction, that our officers do not want to respond to these calls if we are not needed.
The new response team starts training this week and is set to start later this month. I'm Farah Anderson.
That's all for today's episode of WFYI News Now. Our podcast is produced by Drew Daudelin and Zach Bundy, with support from the news team at WFYI and public media journalists across the state. Our news director is Sarah Neal-Estes. Kendall Antron produced our music, and I'm your host, Abriana Herron. If you like today's episode, remember to subscribe and share, and follow WFYI on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and YouTube to check in on our newsroom throughout the day. Thanks for listening. We'll be back tomorrow.